Recent reports have surfaced regarding allegations of abuse against Diddy at the Metropolitan Detention Center in New York. According to sources close to the artist, Diddy experienced a nervous breakdown following the alleged assault. These sources further claim that Diddy is reportedly struggling with thoughts of self-harm. Additionally, prominent figures such as Jay-Z and Jennifer Lopez have been named as potential witnesses in the case, leaving Diddy reportedly feeling fearful and uncertain.
According to a report from the Daily Mail, that's why Diddy had a breakdown. A person close to him apparently said, quote, "Spending the holidays behind bars was a nightmare for him." You won't believe all this. Diddy had a meltdown in his cell and begged the guards to take him to the hospital for observation, but they refused. This same friend or person told the Daily Mail, quote, "He eventually managed to calm himself down with the meditation technique he's been using while he's been behind bars. It took him a few hours of deep breathing and focusing to get out of the bad space he was in, but he finally managed it." This is the first time Diddy's mental health has come into question while he's been at MDC. When he first arrived, he was on suicide watch, which the U.S. Department of Justice National Institute of Corrections describes as supervisory precautions taken for suicidal inmates that require frequent observation. Diddy's suicide watch was only temporary, though. He was housed in a special protected unit of the jail after that for the first few weeks of his stay. But Diddy right now is in Gen Pop, meaning general population, the place where majority of the inmates stay. And that's where he apparently had this.
Sources close to Diddy have begun revealing troubling details about his darker side, and several prisoners have filed lawsuits against him. One significant development involves Jonathan AI, who was arrested in connection with a shooting at Trump's National Doral Golf Course in Miami. In an exclusive interview, Jonathan discussed his experiences with Diddy. During an interrogation in 2018, he claimed that Diddy had been using him as a sex slave and that a powerful gay mafia in Hollywood coerced him into committing crimes.
But you know an Diddy person, it's possible he might take his life.
It takes a certain individual to prepare himself to do a lot of years in jail. From the lifestyle that he had, I'm not saying that he can't. I just don't see him able to do time behind bars. Maybe if he be in a camp type situation, that's a possibility. But based on the lifestyle and what he's done and what he's accomplished, if he has to go behind those bars for a lot of years, I think that he may commit suicide. He do an Epstein.
Why you think he pulled a Russell Simmons and leave country?
They was watching him, bro. They was watching him. Then I think that he had to turn over his passport. Even if you own your own private jet, they have a system up there where they're supposed to check your passport and anything that you need to fly as if you were flying commercial.
Another prisoner who has come forward with a lawsuit against Diddy is Cardello Smith. Currently incarcerated for an alleged sexual assault, Cardello claims that Diddy framed him for the crime. Smith previously won a $100 million lawsuit against Diddy, but Diddy's legal team is now challenging that ruling. In his lawsuit, Cardello alleges that Diddy assaulted him in 1997 during a party at a Holiday Inn in Detroit, where Cardello worked as a bartender. Cardello has named Jennifer Lopez as a material witness in the case, claiming that Diddy recorded the alleged assault and showed the footage to J-Lo. Despite being aware of what happened, Cardello asserts that J-Lo did not go to the authorities or offer him any assistance.
Going back to Cardello Smith's filing. His notice says that Jennifer Lynn Lopez, aka J-Lo, aka Jenny from the Block, quote, will be called as a material witness and expert to Sean Combs' viewing, possession, and distribution of a sexual assault upon the plaintiff in 1997, and the orders of defendant Sean Combs forcing Jennifer Lopez to remain silent about the videotaped sexual assault of plaintiff by defendant. Plaintiff states that the material witness Jennifer Lynn Lopez, also known as J-Lo and Jenny from the Block, was engaged in a relationship with the defendant Sean Combs during 1999 and 2001, and that the sexual assault of the plaintiff was recorded, distributed, and held by the defendant at his New York residence and recording studio. And during the relationship with Jennifer Lopez, she was made privy to this video that was taken by Sean Combs and his employee Kirk Burrows. She, J-Lo, has known this video existed and was in existence and took no action to make it known to anyone in law enforcement, and that she was even questioned by New York Police Detective Derek Palmer about this matter, and that the report will show that her answers to this tape was and still remains a resounding yes to its existence. And again, Cardell Smith writes that he wants to call Officer Derek Palmer as a witness, because he says Palmer is the one who questioned Lopez and believes that he will have testimony that could help his case. As I mentioned, Diddy's legal team has called for this entire case to be thrown out. Cardell Smith has filed a massive response to that request that totaled more than 200 pages. Probably half of it was just straight up copies of case law that seems to support his arguments, word for word. It's something of like a legal textbook. There's so much to slog through, but I kind of want to give you some of the highlights. So first, in addition to the claims of rape and a cover-up, Cardell Smith also claims and alleges that Combs was violent towards his loved ones. At times, Cardell Smith addresses alleged threats against his family. Other times, he says Combs actually caused serious injuries to his brother. His response reads, defendant used threats of murder to force the plaintiff to not bring the case to any court of law enforcement until the homes of the defendant were raided by Homeland Security, that the plaintiff knew it was a safe time to bring the case, and that is why we are here at this juncture. Cardell Smith argued that fear for his own safety and the safety of his family is one of the main reasons that he waited so long to report the alleged rape. He says that that reason alone should override any issue with the statute of limitations, that these claims might otherwise be time-barred. And he also argues that while he's been in prison, fellow inmates and prison guards have threatened him on behalf of...
As Diddy's time in prison continues, the lawsuits against him are mounting. Allegations of him forcing individuals to remain silent are now surfacing, with victims bravely coming forward. Jay-Z and Jennifer Lopez are just the first to be named in legal action, and as Diddy's case unfolds, more names are expected to be revealed. Diddy is reportedly fearful for his safety and is urgently seeking a way out. His legal team even offered $50 million in exchange for bail, but the judge ultimately denied the request.
What do you take away about who has a stronger argument in terms of bail?
Well, I think his counsel has done the best they possibly can. I think bringing him there voluntarily is very smart, starts them out on the right foot. But I think the last thing that you just mentioned, the interfering with witnesses.
That's the allegation, yeah.
Yeah, if that's true, or I should say, if there's real indicia that happened, I think that might tip the scales in favor of not letting him out pending trial, because I you know this, I think judges take an extraordinarily dim view of that, and that might be a factor that tips the scale against him. But I think as far as the tactic, I think it's very smart to do what they did and to say, look, you know, he's here, you didn't have to track him down, he's got a real defense here, he's doing everything right, at least right now. I'm not sure it's going to be enough.
Diddy is now facing the consequences of his actions, and he's reportedly terrified of being sent to general population. Individuals like him don't typically fare well in prison, and Diddy has always been accustomed to a life of luxury. According to experts, Diddy may not have the resilience to survive behind bars and might even consider ending his life rather than spend decades in prison. Currently, Diddy is facing life in prison due to the serious sex trafficking and racketeering charges levied against him.
He's suffering the consequences, and I don't feel bad for him at all. Because people was trying to talk to him. People was trying to tell him. You couldn't pull him by the coat and let him know anything. You understand? They messed up the game, brother. When he put that shit out with them, money, power, respect, it ain't never been like that. It ain't never been like that. You got your respect in the street that gave you your power, that brought you your money. Totally different thing. He let that money, power, and respect go to his head, but he had it ass backwards. So do I care what happened? No. He got enough money to buy his way out of this. So we think.
So when you look at that video of him pacing around and he's looking rough, and you knowing him, it's possible that you might commit suicide?
When you're a narcissist, there's always a possibility because you're suffering. But I don't think that he can see himself in a cage. I don't think he can see himself behind those bars in those type of situations. Too many real dudes that dislike him. But then again, there's a lot of real dudes that need help. And him being behind bars, he could probably help.
There are prisoners at the Metropolitan Detention Center who would likely try to harm or even kill Diddy at the first opportunity. Many of these inmates are serving life sentences and seek to gain street credibility, something Diddy is well aware of, which only adds to his fear. Life behind bars is vastly different from the world Diddy is used to, and for someone accustomed to comfort, surviving in that environment will be a serious challenge. It's important to note that Diddy has allegedly been involved in drugging his victims, even minors, or using his guards to hold them. Diddy is not a gangster, and this is the first time he will truly face criminals who aren't intimidated by his status or wealth.
News right now, Larry. I am just getting word. People magazine says it's got a source on the inside that tells them that P. Diddy's on suicide watch tonight. Do your sources confer the same information? Are they saying it's possible?
Hey, real quickly, all that commissary stuff, he's not getting any of that because people in the shoot have an abbreviated list. So he's out of luck. No mistake for him. Yeah, he is on suicide watch. This guy thought he would have went home. All of a sudden, he didn't get bond. Remember, the first night he was there, he was like an overnight guest. When they told his bond hearing, now they checked him into the system, and reality has hit him. And I understand that he has a shrink coming by his cell to see him several times a day. And now there's talk about putting him in, it's like a bubble. It's like a cell that has like a plexiglass wall in it where they have inmates watching you. That's actually their job, to keep an eye on the inmates that are on suicide watch. Another error they make, and some warning told through this, there are sentenced inmates there. They're called cadre inmates. They don't have to be white collar inmates, but they're doing maintenance on the building. And the problem why there's a lot of violence there, they have housing units. And they're mixing bank robbers, drug dealers, rapists with white collar people. This is why Diddy, he can't go into a regular housing unit because somebody will take him out for sure. Somebody is gonna get a lot of street credibility out of this. People that are doing substantial time that know they're never getting out, they'll just kill a guy. No questions asked.
You think that they'd suck up to him because he's got a lot of money, and if he ever does get the commissary options, he would be able to help them.
Some people do.
I gotta wrap it real quick.
Okay, some people do think that Diddy can help him, but this guy's going to be locked up forever. His case will probably take at least 3 years to litigate. He'll stay at MDC. There's rumors that he wants to go to Essex County Jail in New Jersey. He doesn't like MDC. He's a marshal's inmate. There's no way they're going to transfer him back and forth, I don't know, several times a week, 6 marshals to do it. He's out.
Jay-Z is reportedly concerned about the potential consequences if his situation takes a similar turn to Diddy's, which is why he's aggressively fighting the lawsuit filed against him. His legal team has repeatedly requested that the judge reveal the identity of the victim, but the judge has denied these requests. Like Diddy, Jay-Z has a history of violence, and if given the opportunity, there are concerns he may attempt to intimidate the victim. Recently, Jay-Z's legal team has been accused of attempting to manipulate the case by allegedly bribing witnesses. In one instance, lawyers from his team were caught showing up at the homes of victims, posing as FBI agents and flashing fake badges.
Now, as far as Jay-Z's concerned, this could really go one of two ways. It might be an isolated one-off case that he has to or potentially it could be a two-type situation where other victims come forward. Obviously, we saw that with Diddy and Cassie Ventura. So the coming days and weeks are really going to be telling. And Tony Busby says it's more than 100, maybe 300 victims he's representing. Many of them also named.
And Nima, it's such a high-profile name like Jay-Z has come out. Could more celebrity names be tied to these lawsuits? What do you think would you expect?
No question. This may just be the first celebrity domino, and Jay-Z was unmasked as Celebrity A, but let's not forget there's a Celebrity B in that same lawsuit that allegedly witnessed sexual assault, a female celebrity. And there's someone who went on CNN earlier this week said that his sexual assault was witnessed by another celebrity as well. So I think we're going to see more celebrity names identified very soon.
All right, Nima Rani, thank you so much for joining us. As you said, this is one that has entered the court of public opinion. It's nice to have your actual...
Former federal prosecutor Nima Rahmani has stated that he expects many more names to be implicated in connection with Diddy in the coming days. Jay-Z is just the beginning. High-profile figures such as former President Obama, Donald Trump, members of British royalty, and even world-famous athletes have been close associates of Diddy. If Diddy were to confess, it could lead to a significant number of prominent individuals facing legal consequences.
Here's P. Diddy's gotten a whole pass. He's actually created his own kingdom where he makes his own rules. You got to follow his rules. You get penalized. And guess what, Laura? He's now in a federal penitentiary, and for the first time in his life, he's facing his own fate at the hands of somebody else. And I will tell you, Laura, I've done federal cases, that that's not the place you want to be in federal court. 90% of federal criminal indictments brought down are pled out, right? A plea deal is brought. And of the only 10% left, 90% of those defendants who go to trial, they lose. So he is looking at a daunting uphill battle to fight these horrible charges.
Now, Brian, one of the DHS agents involved in this raid on his Miami mansion described what he saw inside the house, saying that, in my opinion, he's as bad as Epstein. These women are young, either barely legal or barely illegal. Brian, this sounds like he was a monster.
Yeah, Laura, I will tell you that this indictment was very detailed, by the way, too. Your viewers should know there were over 300 subpoenas, sir. Over 50 witnesses interviewed. Why is that important? Because the federal prosecutors aren't going to be leveling an indictment like this unless they have ammunition and they have cause to bring it. And the core issue at this case, which the feds have to prove, which it's looking like they can, is that P. Diddy essentially controlled these women. That he threatened them with stopping the money that he was paying them, that he spiked their drinks with drugs, that's been alleged in the indictment, and that he basically told them, I'm going to ruin your life unless you engage in these freak-offs. And that's really what the prosecutors got to prove. If you've got some victims coming forward to talk about that, you've got financial records to prove that, travel itinerary that proves that, P. Diddy has very little defense. And I got to tell you, Laura, if this guy wants to fight these charges, he's going to have to step up and walk into a courtroom and talk about it. If he doesn't testify in this case, he is dead on arrival.
Well, who else is on these tapes? I mean, will the tapes ever see the light of day? I mean, that's what everybody's talking. Who else is there? It's like with the Epstein, his pleasure island. Who else? Who went? Who was there? What's the manifest? But Brian, the chances 1 being least likely, 10 being most likely. Will we learn of other celebrities that were at these freak-offs?
Yeah, I think you've got an 8 or a 9 for a likelihood you're going to hear about it. Why? Because there are going to be more indictments coming down, Laura. That's an important point here, because he's being charged with racketeering and conspiracy. You're going to have, well, let's start on the inner circle. You're going to have former bodyguards. You can possibly have former musicians that he was with. You've got personal assistants that are going to be, they're already talking about this. Some of those are likely to be charged. And then guess what? If you've got some music moguls that are sending women over to these alleged freak-offs, then you've got some top people that are going to start crumbling too, because they're all part of what's called this criminal enterprise.
To make matters even worse for Diddy, a new lawsuit has been filed accusing him of the alleged rape of 3 men, two of whom were former employees. Statements from the alleged victims suggest that Diddy's assaults were not driven by attraction, but by a desire to dominate them. According to the victims, Diddy sought to control and degrade them, with one even describing his intentions as wanting to make them his property. These new accusations paint a deeply disturbing picture of Diddy's actions.
Why didn't you believe in others that you were possessed?
Well, the thing with a sexual abuser, is they follow a pattern. They fall to type, and you become very clear on what that pattern is, particularly a serial sexual abuser. And these cases were all identical in the facts, identical in the story. It was beginning, middle, conclusion,
know each other?
boom. None of them knew each
Did
other.
you have a mate?
No.
Did you have them coordinate stories?
No.
Do you think they had any contact with each other before they came to you?
Absolutely.
And when you were talking to them, well, first, the ones that you didn't, why not?
Stories didn't make sense. Stories didn't fit the pattern. Stories were not credible. I mean, this is my 30th year as a lawyer. I can tried over 100 cases. I can assess whether somebody's story is credible. If I don't believe it, I'm not going to put my name on a pleading, sign it, and file it in court. I'm not doing it. And that's what I did with the 60-plus cases that I rejected.
And this is not really your area of expertise. It's a little lick you up. Celebrity lawsuits is not really where you make your bones. Why this?
Well, I have handled. I was involved in the Weinstein litigation. Right. I was involved in the Paducah litigation. I was involved in the Hayden litigation. Why did I do this? I do this because it's important. I think it's important for people to be heard, have their chance to get the power back. Sexual abuse, sexual assault is about one thing: taking power, humiliating, demeaning something, a person, and a victim. It has nothing to do with sex. And so I think it's important. I think it's important to get the word out. I think it's important for men to feel, hey, look, I can come out and be heard just like a woman could.
Hey, the defense that, look, they knew what they were getting into. These are regrets. You went there, they partied, and now they see a pocket.
No, I don't think so. One, my client was, one was bisexual, the other ones were not. They were going there. The client was bisexual, worked for Diddy. Diddy owed him money for doing errands for him and being his step-fetch, for lack of a better word. And I think it was a power move. It was a clear power move because this guy had the nerve to come to him and say, you owe me money. And so Diddy said, come on to the Intercontinental Hotel. He gives him the drug, knocks him out, sodomizes him. And I won't use the term that my client used, but he said he tried to turn me into his P word. And I think it was a clear power move on each and every occasion. I think the ones that took place in the Park Hyatt, that wasn't part of it. My client met him at a nightclub in the city here where the music was. He didn't think he was getting into that. The man who was raped in the Hamptons, he thought he was going to a white party. Who wouldn't want to go to a white party? I would have gone to a white party back in the day. I wouldn't go now. But they went there innocently, and this is what happened to them.
We'll go in. I appreciate you very much. We will follow.
The situation surrounding Diddy continues to grow darker with each passing day. From disturbing allegations of abuse and manipulation to a growing number of lawsuits and high-profile witnesses being pulled into the case, it's becoming increasingly clear that his days of living above the law may be coming to an end. With reports of a nervous breakdown and mounting fears for his safety, Diddy appears to be struggling to cope with the gravity of his situation. What do you think will happen next?